He was a veteran, 2 tours in Iraq. He knew what it felt like to be watched, knew how to trust his instincts, and every instinct was screaming at him. Something is wrong. The deer on the side of the road looked almost right, but not quite. Its head was too bovine, too cow-like for a deer. Its body was barrel-chested, massive, proportions wrong. And when he looked at its eyes, they weren't on the side of its head. They were facing forward, like a predator's, like it was looking directly at him. This is the Midnight Registry.
In the space between midnight and dawn, when the world turns cold and the light is gone, something's watching from the tree line edge. These are the stories they don't want you to know.
Before we get into tonight's story, I want to give credit where it is due. This encounter comes from Reddit user &.sys, who shared his experience on Skyline Drive in Virginia. An Iraq War veteran with a finely tuned survival instincts encountered something in the Appalachian mountains that defied explanation. Not deer are modern cryptid phenomena primarily reported in Appalachia. Witnesses describe creatures that look like deer at first glance, but upon closer inspection display the wrong anatomy, the wrong behavior. Something fundamentally off about them. The term, not deer, may be modern, but reports of wrong deer go back decades. Full credit to the witness for sharing this account. Now, let's get to it. Shenandoah National Park, Virginia. Skyline Drive winds 105 miles through the Blue Ridge Mountains, one of the most scenic roads in America. During the day, it's breathtaking. Tourists stop at overlooks and families hike the trails. But at night, it's different. The forest presses close, the curves are sharp, the darkness is absolute. And sometimes things cross the road. Our witness, we will call him Marcus, was a regular on Skyline Drive. He had a season pass, rode his motorcycle through the park weekly, usually during the day. But on this particular night, he was feeling restless, and he needed to clear his head. So around 11 p.m., he headed into the park. Just him, his bike, and the mountain. Marcus had been in Iraq for 2 years. Combat zones, hostile territory, places where being unaware could get you killed. He developed instincts and a sixth sense for danger. About 10 minutes into his ride, those instincts started screaming. The hair on the back of his neck stood up. He felt like he was being watched. Not the casual observation of wildlife, not deer looking up from grazing. This was focused, intentional. Marcus slowed down, scanned the tree line. Nothing. But the feeling didn't go away. He pulled over at a scenic overlook, leaned against his bike, and tried to rationalize the situation. He was armed. He was always armed. And he knew this area. Probably just a bear. He stood there for about 10 minutes looking out over the valley. Beautiful view, clear night, stars visible above the mountains. And that's when the feeling intensified. Every nerve in his body started firing. Someone, or something, was watching him. And it was close. Marcus got back on his bike. He needed to leave, needed to get moving. He couldn't spend another 30 plus miles going the opposite direction to leave through another gate. So he had to continue going forward, through whatever was watching him. He rode slowly, carefully, and then he saw it. On the left side of the road, the mountainside. A deer. At least, it looked like a deer at first. Marcus saw the eyes first, long before his headlight fully illuminated it, glowing in the darkness, reflecting the light. But something about them was wrong. He kept riding. slowly closing the distance, and as his headlight revealed more details, his blood ran cold. It was big, easily the biggest deer Marcus had ever seen, but it had no antlers, which meant it was a doe, except it didn't look like a doe. The head was almost bovine, cow-like. The shape was wrong for a deer, fixed to a deer's frame, but not quite fitting right. The body was extremely barrel-chested, muscular. The legs seemed too long in proportion to the body. And the eyes were what broke the illusion completely. They weren't on the side of the head like a deer's. They were facing forward, like a predator's eyes. Like he was looking at him, not just near him, direct, focused. Marcus had always been creeped out by malformed wildlife. Birth defects, diseases, animals that didn't look quite right. But this was way beyond that. This looked like something that had never seen a deer before and tried to make one. Like someone had described a deer to an alien and the alien did its best, but got it wrong. Fundamentally, deeply wrong. Marcus stopped his bike about 15 feet away from it. The creature didn't move, just stood there, blocking the road, staring at him with those forward-facing predator eyes. Marcus revved his engine, tried to scare it off. Nothing. It didn't even flinch. He honked, he shouted. This thing just stood there. Marcus looked at the road. It was narrow here. Mountain on the one side, steep drop on the other. If he wanted to pass, he'd have to get within a few feet of this thing. Every instinct in his body told him not to do so, but he had no choice. He wasn't riding 30 plus miles back in the dark, not with something like this out here. So he made a decision. He'd ride past it, fast, get distance between himself and whatever this thing was. Marcus gunned the engine, flew past the creature at speed, and as he passed within feet of it, he got a clear look. The wrongness was overwhelming up close. The proportions were all off, the anatomy didn't make any sense. This wasn't a deer with a deformity, it was something else entirely, something wearing the approximate shape of a deer. And as he passed, it turned its head, tracked him with those predator eyes. Calm, unhurried, like it knew exactly what he was, like it had been expecting him. Marcus didn't look back, just rode hard and fast. Got out of that section of road as quickly as possible, and didn't slow down until he was well past the park boundaries. When Marcus finally stopped, his hands were shaking. Not from fear exactly, he'd been in combat, he knew how to handle fear. This was different. This was a reaction to the wrongness, visceral, instinctive wrongness. His brain couldn't process what he'd seen. Every part of his survival instinct had been screaming at him. That wasn't a deer, that was a predator, and it had been watching him, waiting. For what, he didn't know, and he was glad he hadn't found out. Marcus never went back to Skyline Drive at night, not after that. During the day was fine, plenty of tourists, plenty of witnesses, but at night, never again. Whatever this thing was, it owned those mountains after dark, and Marcus was smart enough not to challenge it again. Not deer are a modern phenomenon, or at least the term is modern. Reports started surfacing around 2018, primarily from Appalachia. People describing encountering deer that were off. Wrong proportions, wrong movement, wrong behavior. The most common features: forward-facing eyes, bovine, cow-like head shape, barrel-chested or overly muscular body, legs too long or too short, larger than normal deer, no fear of humans, a strong uncanny valley effect, and it creates an instinctive dread in observers. The term originated from Tumblr in a post in 2018. The user described seeing a deer in Appalachia that weren't quite right. The name stuck. not deer. Creatures that look like deer until you look closer. Then you realize there's something else entirely. Something that's learned to approximate a deer's appearance, but hasn't quite mastered it yet. The cow-like head is one of the most commonly reported features, and it is significant. Deer heads are elongated, narrow, and graceful. Cow heads are broad, blocky, and heavy. Putting a cow-shaped head on a deer's body creates immediate wrongness. The proportions don't work, the mechanics don't make sense. It's like seeing someone wearing a mask that's slightly too big. You know something's off, even if you can't articulate exactly what that is. Marcus described the head as almost bovine. Others have used the same word. It had a deer body with a cow face. The head was wrong, too wide, too heavy. This consistency across independent reports is what makes not deer compelling. People who've never heard of the phenomenon describe identical features. This is the detail that triggers the deepest unease. Prey animals have eyes on the sides of their heads. It gives them a wide field of view, lets them see predators coming. Predators have forward-facing eyes, binocular vision, depth perception, for tracking prey. When you see forward-facing eyes on something that should be prey, your brain rejects it immediately. This is wrong, this shouldn't exist. Marcus noticed the eyes first, before anything else. They were facing forward, like he was looking at me. Not past him, not in his general direction, at him, with a predator's focus. Whatever this thing was that was looking at him, it wasn't a deer. It was something pretending to be a deer, and it wasn't very good at pretending. There's a rational explanation for some not deer sightings. Chronic wasting disease. It's a neurodegenerative prion disease that affects deer, elk, and moose. Symptoms include drooling, difficulty swallowing, weight loss, emaciation, stumbling, lack of coordination, loss of fear of humans, and other abnormal behaviors. CWD makes deer look wrong, move wrong, act wrong. A sick deer stumbling out of the woods at night could definitely trigger not deer responses in people. But here's the problem. CWD doesn't change skull structure, doesn't move eyes forward, doesn't make legs longer. It explains the behavior, the wrongness, but doesn't explain the anatomy. Marcus's creature had the wrong head shape, the wrong eye placement. CWD doesn't do that. Which means either he perceived details in poor lighting, there are deer with severe congenital deformities we do not understand, or something else is out there. Something that looks like a deer. Marcus isn't alone. Since the term not deer entered the popular consciousness, hundreds of reports have surfaced. A young couple in northern Georgia saw a deer stand up on its hind legs. It had arms, not front legs, and its upper half looked human except for the head. A family driving through the mountains at dusk saw a massive deer by the road. Its joints moved wrong, like they were bending the way they shouldn't. A hiker in the Smokies watched a deer walk across a clearing. It moved like it was learning how to walk, like a newborn fawn, but it was fully grown. The consistency is eerie. Different people, different locations, different years, all describing creatures that look like deer, but not. Something wearing the shape of a deer, but not quite getting it right. If something wanted to hide in the Appalachian wilderness, deer would be the perfect disguise. They are everywhere, ubiquitous. Nobody thinks twice about seeing a deer. White-tailed deer are the most common large animal in the eastern United States. Drivers see them on roads constantly. Hikers pass them on trails. They're part of the background. If something wanted to observe humans without causing alarm, if something wanted to blend in, appearing as a deer would work, until someone looked too close. The wrong proportions, the sense of being watched by something that shouldn't be watching, then the disguise fails, and you realize that's not a deer. Marcus is a combat veteran. 2 tours in Iraq, he survived situations that would break most people. He knows the difference between rational fear and irrational panic. And when he saw that creature on Skyline Drive, every survival instinct he developed told him, this is a predator. This is dangerous. This is wrong. He trusted those instincts and got away, and he's never gone back to Skyline Drive at night. Maybe it was a deer with CWD. Maybe it was severe birth defects. Or maybe there was something in the Appalachian Mountains that's learned to look like a deer. Something that just watches from the roadside. Stands unnaturally still when humans pass within feet. Something that's almost convincing, but not quite. If you're ever driving through Appalachia at night and you see a deer on the roadside, look at the eyes. If they're facing forward, don't stop, don't investigate, just drive. Because that's not a deer, and whatever it actually is, you don't want to find out. Forward-facing eyes on a prey animal, that's what gets me about this case. That's the detail that matters. CWD can explain behavioral abnormalities. Birth defects can explain proportional issues. Poor lighting can create optical illusions. But multiple independent witnesses describing the same specific anatomical impossibility, predator eye placement on a deer-shaped body, that's a little bit harder to dismiss. Marcus is a trained observer, combat veterans with survival instincts. He knows what fear looks like and how to manage it. When someone like that says, every instinct told me this was a predator, I listen. The bovine head detail appears across multiple reports, the barrel chest, the 2 long legs, the wrong movement. These aren't random hallucinations, they're consistent, specific observations. What troubles me, the creature didn't run, didn't startle, just stood there, watching. This suggests intelligence, calculation, awareness that it had been seen, but confidence that it was safe. Either this is mass misidentification of diseased deer, or something has learned to approximate deer anatomy well enough to fool casual observation, but not well enough to fool direct scrutiny. And that raises the question, what's the success rate? How many people drive past without even noticing? How many see them and think, it's just a weird-looking deer? How many are out there right now, standing at roadsides, watching? Sleep well.
Welcome to the Midnight Registry, where the darkness keeps its secrets. Welcome to the Midnight Registry.